All right, I want to watch this preach video.
Old school RuneScape. Never touched, never played. Had some drama stories about it. I've seen screenshots of it, but I've never played it in my life. Why are we here? Is it some sort of exciting operation I was going for? Yes, it is exciting, but in fact, it was Jagex who got on the phone because they've just released sailing for old school RuneScape, which I didn't know, and they were like, hey, can we do a sponsored stream where you show off sailing? And then Nups just went, he's never played the game before, and they were like, ooh, that's interesting. Maybe we could do something else. And here we are. We're going to be trying out old school RuneScape. The goal is still to get to sailing. They do want to show that off, but also mixed in is just learning what this game is. My excitement is based on curiosity. This is obviously a much older style of MMO. And as somebody who's done a lot of historical work on MMOs and their development and all that, it's nice to go all the way back to like the archives and see the origins, kind of, so to speak. There's obviously MMOs that came out before RuneScape, but it is one of the OGs. So that was my big excitement, is to look at like how it started and where we are now, you know, in 2025, which was interesting. So getting into the game, one of the biggest things I noticed within a few hours, so we're about 7 hours in.
Yeah, I'm kind of curious because Preach is like a legendary retail WoW player. I didn't know he had a sponsor to play, but I'm still curious to see what he thinks about the game. So he played it for a day. I don't know if he's planning on playing it anymore, but I'm curious to see what he did on his first day in the game.
Was how I had to roll my mind back all the way past like classic WoW, realistically, because there are certain things that just would not happen in 2025 that did exist back then. Namely, really obnoxious journey quests. That was something that was been solved like 2006, 2007.
Grumpy, thank you for the
that
prime.
era of like this wandering for many minutes just to get something simple and then wander all the way back and then go somewhere else, and all that is just not really done anymore because it's tiresome and laborious. But all the way back then, it was kind of normal. It was part of the adventure. It was part of the exploration process. That was the sort of idea behind it, is that this would exist. And also, the way certain mechanics just interact with each other just wouldn't happen anymore. Before I go through the tutorial, I want to highlight these so you understand how I had to roll my head back a bit. Okay. One of the most interesting ones was actually smithing. So I was trying to figure out, because I'm full blind. I haven't even got my chat open while I'm doing this. I'm literally dealing with the game.
Okay, I would say RuneScape blind is maybe not the best way to play it, but I mean, to each his own. Guzu did it, Triumphant's doing it. It's like not the easiest thing to figure out, and there's so much to figure out that like I think that for a new player, it's probably like, for me, I enjoyed the game much better once I was following the blue line with the quest helper and stuff like that. So it's not like very intuitive for a new player to just be able to figure stuff out. There's a lot of items in the game
as it presents itself to me. So one of the things I noticed is that the quests were tied to one of several different levels. It was a combat level. And I wasn't sure how to raise that. Is that gear? Is that attributes in some way, shape, or form? Wasn't sure. But I picked up a quest. There's an interesting quest system we'll get to later, where I was like, oh, okay, I need level 10. How do I do that? So one of the objects I would consider normal to raise your combat level is not just experience gain, but also your equipment. And I noticed that I had no equipment. I had a sword and a shield. That was it. But the game during its tutorial island had shown me that you can craft relatively simplistically. So I was like, okay, we'll try and craft some basic armor, right? Why?
Damn, he thought that your gear would raise your combat level like WoW, because you have an item level based on your gear.
No, let's craft some absolutely bottom of the barrel basic armor. So at least we've got something in those slots. So off I went, and I did several trips back and forth to the tin and copper area, to smelt bronze, to then turn it into
silly
stone.
WoW players.
Let's talk about that for a second. I have no idea how this works, but if I was to guess, based on what I've seen so far, is every time your pickaxe hits a mining node, it's just a gamble roll between 0 and probably 10 or something like that. 10 is success, and you get your item, and pretty much anything else is a fail. And as you increase your pickaxe, because I did go from the basic, I think it was a bronze pickaxe, to a steel pickaxe or an iron pickaxe. I was like, oh, well, this is going to make it easier, because sometimes I would be mining a node for like 12 to 15 seconds or something. Sometimes, and this is with my bronze pickaxe, it would take 1 second. It would just give it me. So I was like, oh, it's obviously rolling a dice every single time to see if you get success. So my gut instinct was, oh, now I have the iron pickaxe. The banding has changed now. So it'll be somewhere between, instead of being 0 to 10, it'll be sort of 0 to 5.
Yeah.
So you've got twice as much chance or whatever of landing it. But that also means you could still spend just as long if you get unlucky mining a node. And this was kind of a theme going through the day, is getting upgrades that seemingly did absolutely nothing at all in any way, shape, or form. And I think it's just changing the odds, but you can still get unlucky and it sucks. I got my iron pickaxe and I was like, right, we're going to get so much.
Yeah, I mean, you could have the strongest weapon in the game too, and you could still hit 0s and 1s. That's something that doesn't happen in WoW. If you get, once you leave the starting zone, you ain't hitting a 1 ever again. Like, you start hitting harder immediately. It's way different.
Now. And then nothing happened. I was like, oh my God. Like, you it's still just as...
You can hit a 0 in WoW if you miss, but you'll never actually see a 0 splat. You'll never hit somebody for 0. That's not something that happens. It would just say miss, dodge, or parry.
It's long and tedious. And I was like, I bet there's an efficient way of doing this, is if you don't get it in the first couple, maybe you just re-roll onto a different node, or you just stop and go again. Something like that. I don't know how it works, but I get the feeling that's how it works. Either way, I collected a bunch of ore, like a lot. But then, come to discover that in order to even build basic armor, I managed to make a helmet. The tree is so antiquated. It's cute in a way. It's like, it's kind of cute. The smithing tree is very antiquated, because it starts with like level 1, you can build a dagger. Level 2, you can build like a sword. Like level 3 or 4, you can now build a helmet. Okay, so you would expect that like 5 and 6 are like, now you can build legs, now you can build a chest. No.
Smithing needs to be
Instead,
reworked.
Once you get another couple of levels, I want to point out by this point, I had not found the actual smithing tree, which you can access. I was just leveling it up and getting whatever's coming next, because I had an expectation, because of it would be logical, is this is how it would work. But actually, a couple levels later, it just gave me the option to build another helmet. I was like, wait, this has already given me a helmet. So why is the next 2 levels just another helmet? That's so bizarre. It's insanely bizarre.
Like a medium and a full?
It's so crazy. And at that point, I was getting a little frustrated, because I'd done a lot of trips backwards and forwards to this mine, and it's I need bigger bags. My inventory is very small.
There's no bags in this game.
Bags in some way, shape, or form.
What?
Because the way it was working, at least my understanding of how this works. I was filling my inventory. I went to the bank, which I've been informed now.
No
like
way.
I can't avoid all information. I was very confused as to why the bank was on top of like the town hall / mansion in Lumbridge. I was like, why is the bank on the top floor? Like, clearly players need to access this thing. And then people let me know. Actually, Jagex let me know. Jagex let me know. They're like, okay, we added a bank later and we had nowhere to put it, so we stuck it on top of here. I'm like, okay, fair enough. Can't go in any other buildings. Got to go on top of here. So you've got to go up 2 flights of stairs to get to the bank. Either way, I went to the bank and I dumped all my gear and filled out my inventory multiple times while waiting for a lot of this mining to happen. And I was like, oh my God. It was faster than New World, which is really interesting, because I have said time and time again, I am not, as soon as an MMO, like a modern MMO, right, has me chopping trees, like clicking a tree and then waiting for it to be done, I'm turning it off. Like, I've had enough. I think it's, in 2025, in the modern era, I find it an egregious waste of the player's time when there's just so many more options these days to just be like, not deal with that kind of nonsense and have some fun instead, right? It's always easy to compare it to PoE. You can farm for hundreds and thousands of hours in PoE, but generally you're blowing up monsters by the truckload. Explosions, crazy builds, and you're getting faster and faster and faster, right? There's an action element to it. This is click and then just take hands off keyboard and wait for it to be done. Which is, to me, just insanity. Just insanity now. But I expect it of these old games, so it's fine. I then found the smithing tree. I was like, is there a tree somewhere? I was very tempted to Google it, but they actually have it in game. Only to realize...
This sounds like his nightmare game. I think it is.
You can't get armor until like level 12 or 13 smithing, which I'm not doing.
A retail WoW... Like, guys, a retail WoW player could not be farther from a old school RuneScape player. It is such a different playstyle. It is nonstop combat, rush to endgame, and just grind gear and see how hard you can push your Mythic Plus. It's just a combat simulator. That's it. You don't have to do secondary profession at all. You don't have to ever do a single skill. Most people don't. It's so different.
I'm not doing. Now, I think there's probably some more efficient way of doing this using banknotes, because Adventurer John... You can
play both. You can enjoy both.
Is a new addition to the game.
Most people wouldn't.
Or whether he's always been there. So Adventurer John tracks everything you're doing. So you've been attacking monsters, you've been mining and things like that. And he, once you hit a threshold, he will like complete this passive quest. It's like, hey, you got level 5 in attack. Come and get a reward. And that reward is significantly better than what I can craft from smithing in any realistic amount of time. It takes like 5 minutes to get a reward from Adventurer John, the early ones, or an hour of smithing to not get anything nearly as good. Like it's nonsensical. So whether it's just starter gear, I don't know. Might be before you invest into smithing. So either way.
Okay, he's kind of cooking with that. Like, you definitely don't want to just like manually start doing skills. The quests, for me, this was kind of weird too, because the quests just boost you so far past the early game. And like, just doing the quest puts you like deep into the mid game without really having to skill at all.
I'm poking around, and I did have to explain this to Jagex. So what happened is a few Jagex team members were around, and they were like DMing me, and I thought, because I'd never seen whispers in this game, that this was just players, because a lot of players found me. So I was ignoring these messages, and people were like, no, that's Jagex. Like, if they're in that color, it's Jagex. I'm like, oh. So I then had to explain to Jagex, look, when I'm doing these projects for other MMO companies, even though you're not paying me to do this one, but it's how I like to approach them anyway, I want to poke around and be blind. I want to see how the game presents itself. I want to sort of figure out mechanics for myself. I find that way better, not only for my own knowledge. It's like, oh, the reason we do it efficiently is because the other way is really bad, right? Even having that contrast is very important to me. And seeing where the game leads me and poking around the menus and finding stuff. It's useful to me to get overall better. And it's one of the biggest regrets I have with Warframe is Warframe had a guide for me. And although iFlynn is phenomenal and great and took me on this journey, I know very little of the base mechanics of that game that I want to like restart a fresh account essentially, because we zipped through everything. It's kind of like boosting in WoW. If you get a new player who's never touched either that game or MMOs in general, and you just boost them up to like level cap and say go, they've what are they going to do?
No idea what's going on.
They're so lost. They have no idea. And so I was then trying to figure out what is the efficient way of playing this game.
You just quest.
So it dawned on me, is like, I bet some of the starter quests are a good way, because I would have said, again, applying some logic, you've got this list of every quest in the game, is the earlier ones should be the lower level ones. And then when you click on them, it does tell you requirements, right? It does tell you like, okay, your minimum of this. I will say the old school style of questing I enjoyed a lot, although it was very random. So the treasure hunt I did, where I actually had to open a notepad and do a cipher, I actually had to translate what was going on. I had to use my brain to figure out how to solve it, because I was presented a code and I was like, this doesn't make any sense to me. No matter, is it an anagram? Is it translating to numbers? Even that doesn't make sense. So I was looking around, and then I thought, maybe I asked the guy who gave me the quest, because he probably knows something about this. And that was true. That was correct. And I was like, that is great. That is really cool. You had to apply and throw ideas at the problem to come up with a solution, and the solution was there. Really enjoyed that. Then I found another quest to get dye. I will never forget this quest. It's just a tutorial on how to dye your armor. That's all it is. But it's buried that the goblin village elders are torn between red and green armor, and they just want you to go and get different colored dyes so they can unify and all wear one armor, because and you've got to traverse the entire map to do this. Very tedious. I think what you would do now, and again, this is why I like poking around, is probably level magic, because I went through the magic tree, and a lot of it is teleports. A huge amount of it is teleports. So I think you want to level magic so you can ultimately just teleport around the place and cut down on your travel time massively, because I doubt there's mounts in the game.
That's the first thing I did in RuneScape was quest and unlock fast travel. Those are the two things you need the most. You absolutely just have to do that.
So I'm assuming there's no mounts. I think that's what you're supposed to do. I imagine if you're a fresh character who's got some knowledge of this game, you probably log in and you just grind out like magic and things like that. So I did all those journeys, fun little side quests, and then I did a Romeo and Juliet story with Romeo, who's a ditz, and Juliet pretends to be dead, but then he cheats and just goes off with her cousin and all this kind of stuff. It was very cheeky, fun little questing. Nailed it. Louder. All right, yes, okay. I think I'm getting my motivation.
This quest gives a lot of quest points.
Oh no! Juliet has died! Juliet, my poor dead cousin. What's going on here, like? Oh, bloody hell, my daughter's dead. What I'm not finding, and I don't know if it exists, is some sort of overarching story. Is there a major villain? Is there something going on with a king?
I mean, in Dragon Slayer 2, the dragons are trying to like take over, and there's that one elder dragon who cooks up Galvek, and then he's trying to like take over the world with dragons, and then there's the Zamorosians who are trying to get access to the Desert Treasure 2 horn, the ancient Zamorosians, and then there's Lucian who's trying to get access to the Stone of Jazz, which is one of the most powerful artifacts. The gods, like the three gods, Guthix, Saradomin, and Zamrock, used it to like create everything that's on Gielinor. And so Lucian is like a bad guy. And then there's the vampire bad guy, lower, I call him low life, but it's like Sir Lowenthal, that guy. He's the bad Lornell. Yeah. Lord Lawerniel is like gonna be a really bad dude that just kind of chills over in Mortania. And he's just like, he's ramping right now. Because vampires, when they sleep, they just get really strong. So he's kind of like chilling and ramping up. So there's a lot of lore in the game, but you don't really know all of that lore until you get past the Grand Master Quest.
Is there some rivalry? I mean, even the oldest of the old RPGs have some sort of story going on, like that's happening in the world. Not necessarily present here. I don't know that yet. But because so far the quests I've done have been very self-contained. Little just whimsical stories to go along with. So that's something I'm really looking for. Any sort of like goal would be nice. Now, it's entirely possible that there is no goal. And that's kind of representative of old school, a little bit. But typically there's some sort of overarching goal, you know, defeat this faction, you do this, and that. But maybe it's just fill the bar of the game. And what I mean by that is, I couldn't figure out how to get 3 damage. For the life of me, I cannot figure this out. And it's killing my soul. I had leveled my attack, which makes sense to increase your damage, right? To like level 11.
No!
And I noticed I was still doing 1 damage.
No.
So I was like, that can't be right.
Because
I had now had
strength,
3
man.
weapon upgrades. I had 3 weapon upgrades and leveled my attack to level 11. And I still was hitting for 1. and not only that, inconsistently hitting for 1. Like 1 or 0 constantly. So I'm looking at it, I'm like, that can't be right. There's something wrong here. Now I know...
Yeah, I mean, you could maybe see... I think as a game designer, when you have new people that are just coming into the game and doing that, it's like, do I add a tooltip? Because the game should tell you that. Leveling your strength will increase your hit points. Does it not do that on like Tutorial Island or something? The game does not tell you that. So you need third-party assets or a friend or a stream to like aboba you so that you could figure this out.
Then learned more because it had showed me in the tutorial about the battle stances and the way it said like this level's attack experience, which made sense to me to increase your damage as the level attack. But they said this other type does shared XP.
Wait, if you click on your strength determines what your max hit is in combat. Okay. Is there something that tells you that these skills are clickable? I didn't start clicking on these skills until people in the chat told me. I guess that's a good thing. You can go and read what each skill does, but you would maybe have to put in the tutorial island, you can click each skill and it'll tell you what it does. That could be good.
And this one does strength XP. I'm like, oh, okay. So again, we dispense with the modern idea that even though logically mining and DPSing should unilaterally increase your damage and strength or whatever, it doesn't. It's all separate. Although I think if I was whacking away at rocks all day, I'd probably get a little stronger. And so I was like, oh, okay. So let's swap it, because maybe now it's a formula between attack and strength. So it's some sort of multiplier. Because then it would make sense that, yes, you have 11 attack, but you're multiplying it by 0. So it's just not doing anything, right?
Yeah.
So I started leveling my strength. And sure enough, when I got a level in strength, my damage went up to 2. And I was like, oh, yes, I figured it out. I have figured this system out. I don't think so. Now, I've got like level 13 attack, because I started doing shared XP at a certain point, but I've got like level 13 attack and level 9 strength or something like that, and I still inconsistently hit for 2 or 0 or 1.
Welcome to RuneScape. You're going to be hitting for 1 for the rest of your life.
It will not go up. So, either, and this is where my brain's at, either there's another stat that needs to be increased. Maybe dexterity, something along those lines. I don't know.
Dornix, thank you for the prime.
Something like that. Or, and this is the other idea I had, 3 is actually quite a large breakpoint. Because the enemies clearly have something like 11 health, right? So if you can hit for 3, you're nearly 2-3-shotting them. So that's my other theory. But I do feel as though I should have gone up in damage by now, but I haven't. I'm confused on this system. I'm confused. I feel like even if 3 is a big damage threshold, going up, say, 7 more levels, and 10 levels combined between attack and strength should have increased my damage, but it has not. We have yet to see the mythical 3. So far, I'm enjoying it, for sure. It's not a game I'm going to delve into for a long time. I can tell you that now, because I know this. I can already tell this is a game where you're just going to fill bars to get better at stuff, unless something hooks me. If something hooks me, like a goal, because it says dragons. There are dragons in the game somewhere. I assume there's some sort of raid boss type environment, something like that going on. So maybe that's worthy of investigation.
Yeah, preach. If you play a main, you could do a raid in like 2 months if you play every day for 12 hours.
Perhaps. I'm going to give it another day of full blind, I think, with just messing around. The only advice I've been given, I asked my team to collect, like, what's the overwhelming piece of advice people would have to improve it. And basically, they just said GPU. You can increase the render distance and stuff like that. Other than that, keep going. Keep going. All right, so I will. But there's my first day in old school RuneScape. Educational, to say the least. More like reawakening lost memories buried deep in the back of my brain from things that happened in like the year 2000, which was like 25 years ago. But here it is.
Safe to say, Priest is not like old school RuneScape.
So I'll see you then.
Hey guys.
Damn, he got a sponsorship to play old school RuneScape and pretty much didn't say anything good about it at all. He didn't like it. He does not like the old style sandbox MMO where it doesn't really tell you much about what's going on. It kind of just puts you in the game and you kind of figure out what you want to do. I think that this particular type of game is not popular nowadays because it's like that. It takes you several days of investing into your character to really get into it, to stop being frustrated, figure out how to find answers to questions, And then once you figure out answers to those questions, like where to get things, like how to make bread and how to cook it, and where's a stove and where's a range and how do I find one, those types of things become satisfying over time. And so you have to really, there's a reason that people that play OSRS have been playing a long time and they love it. It's because you infinitely enjoy the game the more that you learn about it. At the beginning, the first day, I didn't like RuneScape that much. I liked it a little bit. I was like, okay, this is interesting, but I don't know how long I'll play it. The next day, I started learning things that I couldn't figure out the day before, and it became more enjoyable. And that same sentiment, that same feeling amplified each day that I played. And so you learn how to get through things quicker. You learn how to follow the quests. You learn, you pick a goal in the game. And once you have a goal in the game, because Preach expressed it, he didn't have a goal. He didn't have a quest. He didn't know what the storyline was. He didn't know what to do. That's because it's a sandbox, right? Once I had a goal, all right, finish all the quests or like get a fire cape. Like once I had that goal in mind, I looked up how to do that. I found the answers to it and I started playing the game, and I had a lot better time like that. So I think that if somebody was like, had told Preach, hey, I want to see if you could try to get a fire cape in a week, here's the method on how to do it. And he like maybe went after that, he might have enjoyed the game a little bit better. Some people just don't enjoy the old style of the game where they just go in and are just lost. And it seemed like he was kind of just lost trying to do smithing, which is arguably the skill that needs to be reworked the most in the game. But I wanted to watch and see what Preach had to say about the game. I was pretty interested in when I saw him playing it to see what he thought about it, but it seems like he will not be coming back to play anytime soon, unfortunately. But cool to see his perspective still and kind of see like a new, not really a new player, but a WoW, like a retail WoW Andy. He doesn't even play classic WoW. He doesn't even like classic WoW, I don't think. He's like a retail WoW guy. So anyways, that was the Preach video.